My freshman year in college, I was asked to write an essay about the moment I kind of lost the innocence of my youth, where life wasn't all rainbows and unicorns. And I chose to write about my parents' divorce. It was a time I understood in my bones that life was not always going to be smooth and have a certain level of guarantee or certainty. And this morning, on a walk with a close friend of mine, we were talking about how midlife is another season where we tend to kind of lose more innocence, bigger, more profound, and in some ways more necessary. So today I want to sit with that, honestly, and talk about what's on the other side of it. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. Midlife is the season where the illusions run out. The illusion that you are invincible, that the people you love will always be here, that your body will always do what you ask of it without complaint, that hard work guarantees the outcomes you want, that life, if you do it right enough, will feel settled and safe and figured out. Those things aren't true. And midlife is often when we stop being able to pretend otherwise. You start to see your own imperfections more clearly. Not in the manageable quirks you could always work around, but the deeper patterns, the ways that you've hurt people, the choices you wish you'd made differently. You see the imperfections of the people around you with the same uncomfortable clarity. Parents who are aging and fallible. Relationships that are more complicated than you once believed. Friends navigating their own private battles that you never fully knew about. And mortality becomes very real, not a concept, but really as a fact in your body, in the bodies of the people you love, in the slow accumulation of losses that midlife starts to bring. Reckoning with all of that is hard. It's supposed to be hard. And here's something bleak that I've actually spoken to before, but I bring it up again because it really has brought me a strange kind of peace, especially in midlife. And it's this idea that life is one long series of problems to solve. There's no arrival point where the problems stop. There's no season where we finally have everything handled and we just get to coast forevermore. The nature of being alive is that there's always something hard, something uncertain, something requiring your attention and your resilience and your capacity to keep going. And that first loss of innocence that I was speaking about in childhood, it's often the moment we've stopped believing that life is inherently safe all the time, right? That it's always a guarantee, that it's always a certainty. And the second loss of innocence in midlife is often the moment we stop believing that we'll eventually outrun difficulty. And paradoxically, that second reckoning, as painful and annoying as it can be, it's also an invitation, right? To stop spending so much energy resisting the reality of being human, to stop being surprised by difficulty, to stop holding yourself to a standard of perfection that no one has actually ever met. Here's what I did not expect about the midlife season. The reckoning, right? When you actually sit with it rather than running from it. That gives you something. It gives you empathy. When you truly understand, not intellectually, but in your bones, how hard life is. How heavy the load most people are carrying is. How imperfect it is. And we're struggling and doing the best we can. When we recognize that, something softens in you towards other people. You stop assuming you know that what someone's life is like from the outside. You stop judging so quickly. You start extending the grace that you've had to learn to extend yourself. Of course, we never know what someone is going through, not really. And midlife teaches you that viscerally in a way that nothing else quite does. It also gives you permission to be imperfect, permission to rest, to ask for help, to admit that you're carrying a really heavy load, and that carrying it gracefully does not mean pretending that it isn't there, or that it's light, or that it's easy. I think we under-acknowledge that the body in midlife is being asked to carry an enormous amount. The hormonal shifts of perimenopause and menopause alone, right? Those alone would be significant neurological and physiological events. But layered on top of that is the emotional weight of the season. The aging parents, the growing kids, the evolving relationships, the career transitions, the accumulated losses. And you have a body that's working very hard to hold all of it. And of course, naturally, our bodies at midlife are beginning to lose some of the resilience they once had. Recovery takes longer. Stress lands harder. The margin between thriving and depleting is narrower than it used to be. That's biology, right? And it's a call, a compassionate, urgent call to treat yourself with a level of care that matches the load you're carrying. More rest than you think you need. More moments of restoration. More gentleness with yourself when you cannot do everything you once could. More honesty about what you actually need versus what you think you should be able to manage. Please, above all, hear this. You are not doing life wrong because it's hard. It's hard because it's genuinely hard for everyone. So I called that the second loss of innocence, right? And it's not the end of something. It's the beginning of a different kind of wisdom. A wisdom that knows how to hold complexity without being destroyed by it. That can look at the full truth of a life, the imperfection, the limitation, the loss, the mistakes, and find meaning in it anyway. That extends compassion to others because it has finally learned to extend it to itself. The reckoning is real. I really encourage you to sit with it rather than run from it. And let it make you more human, more kind, more honest, and more alive than you were before it found you. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.